Hello folks, our current world seems to have many problems with money and how it functions in our day-to-day lives. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be very many plausible solutions to the issues that pertain to the problems we face in our monetary systems. I will provide you with a solution that is the best that I have found or come up with. Starting with labor-backed currency. Labor-backed currency is where the labor of people that produce a valuable service is used to back the value of the currency. In contrast, fiat currency is based off the perception of value, and resource-backed currency is based off of a valuable resource. In order to understand the importance and value of labor-backed currency, we got to understand the pros and cons of all three primary currency systems. Resource-backed currency is not capable of experiencing inflation and is more resilient to economic shocks. The problems with resource-backed currency is that it forces the economy to artificially stall to a halt due to the fact that more money cannot be created without the purchase and storage of the valuable resource used in the back-end process. Resource-backed currency also experiences the contradiction of relying on the pricing of the resource in the same markets that use the same resource-backed currency. Fiat, on the other hand, fixes many of these problems. Fiat currency is not reliant on the vaults to create more money when the economy grows, allowing for economic growth. Fiat currency also does not have the market gold contradiction, which is gold being used as the standard pricing system for gold, allowing for a simpler and more fluid pricing system. The problem with fiat is that in order to increase the value of the economy, a country has to enact inflation, which lowers the purchasing power of the currency due to imperfections in this process. Fiat currency also provides a dangerous temptation to any country that uses it, often in the form of government loans and hyperinflationary policy. This increases government debt and destroys the purchasing power of the country's currency, which can wreck the economy. Labor-backed currency solves both of these problems. With resource and fiat currency, labor-backed currency has the stability of resource-backed currency due to it also being a backed currency. Labor also has the benefit of being able to directly source its own backing from the working class within its borders, which allows the currency to grow organically with the economy. One of the best ways to accent labor-backed currency is to establish decentralized banking. In order to properly understand decentralized banking, we need to understand the banking industry as a whole and all its variations. Banking is split between two primary types in the modern day: private banking and public banking. Private banking is a bank or banking system that is privately owned, operated, and governed for the express purpose of turning a profit. Public banking is a bank or banking system that is publicly owned for the primary purpose of stabilizing the economy. Oftentimes, public banks are owned by the government. The first type of bank were private banks. Private banks were created and had authority to print money due to the assumption that they would be able to repay that money in the form of precious materials if asked. This allowed the private banking industry to create fiat currency and use that to facilitate the most profitable industry known to humankind. The primary mechanism that private banks use to make money is through the use of inflationary policy and loaning. Inflationary policy is a very risky way to make money in the banking industry, due to the damage that it tends to inflict on the economy as a whole. Inflationary policy is only really used if they need a lot of money in a pinch. Loaning is split between honest loaning and self-loaning. Honest loaning is where the bank loans to individuals that they know have no choice but to pay the loan with interests. This is the simplest and most straightforward way to loan. Self-loaning is a way for banks to give themselves and governments free money in nice little packages. It is where a bank or other institution loans to themselves and pays off those loans with other loans. Ideally, this process of loaning is kept at a stable rate where debt is racked up over time, but that debt really means nothing. Self-loaning is the primary mechanism for which banks fund themselves. Public banks are nationalized and often avoid inflationary policy in order to stabilize the economy. Public banks will often accrue massive amounts of debt in the form of self-loaning as a way to artificially increase the national GDP. Decentralized banking is a form of public banking. Decentralized banking is where the means for the banking system are put into the hands of the people, and rules are set up in order to prevent every person from becoming a sham trillionaire. Examples of rules would be to establish a self-loaning limit and required payment time and amount. What would also work is the establishment of a standard debt forgiveness time, where self-accrued debts are automatically forgiven over a certain time and if the individual follows safe monetary policy. Another way to accent both decentralized banking and labor-backed currency is to implement relativistic spending. Relativistic spending is where the amount of money an individual has at their disposal changes relative to the location and items that they are attempting to purchase. Relativistic spending is a highly intuitive yet revolutionary way to address the scarcity value dynamic. Relativistic spending is a monetary policy that makes it to where the overall value that a person has at their disposal is not considered in a transactional way. The goal is to create a system where each person is incentivized to create value to the best of their ability and have the access to value according to their need. Let me provide an example. Imagine that you live in a place that uses labor-backed currency with decentralized banking and relativistic spending. You have a list of errands that comprises of 3 locations: the grocery store, the hardware store, and the doctor's office. You have 50 standard hours to your account. Standard hours is our example currency. At the grocery store, you manage to purchase groceries for your family for 43 standard hours. At first glance, this means that you will not be able to afford to fix the issues with your apartment. But this currency employs relativistic spending. This means that those 50 standard hours are not representative of a perishable and temporary resource, but the quality and necessity of your labor that you provided to society. This means that when you go to the hardware store, your account resets back to 50 standard hours, not 7 hours. You manage to purchase what you need and fix your apartment from the hardware store, move on to the doctor's office. Unfortunately, you reached the limit. You attempted to purchase an expensive and dangerous cosmetics procedure that was worth 100 standard hours, and you were refused. The reason is because even though you had the ability to duplicate your account, it is still only representative of your direct contribution to society at large and carries that value in a form that has the appearance of infinite money. In order to get the cosmetic procedure, you will have to either work harder at your existing job or jobs or find a more valuable jobs. Alright folks, if you liked this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to support the channel. See y'all!